A Canadian firefighter, up to his neck in debt, with no education, no connections, and a future that seemed completely closed off, discovered a mental exercise that takes just 60 seconds. Less than a year later, he was already earning more than $100,000. A short time later, he reached his first million. His name was Bob Proctor, and before he died on February 3, 2022, he left behind a technique so absurdly effective that, according to him, you only need to do it right once, just once. Because when it works, it breaks the mental paradigm that kept you trapped your whole life, and after that, you never think the same way again. But wait a second. Don't treat this like just another motivational video lost among thousands. Because what you're about to hear now isn't cheap theory or recycled Instagram quotes. It's a technique that Bob Proctor taught to millions of people around the world for more than 6 decades. And this is where it gets strange. It's so simple that a child could do it, but so powerful that it has changed the lives, health, and bank accounts of people in more than 40 different countries. Now, before I show you the 60-second exercise, I need you to get into the exact state that Bob called receptivity. He often repeated something that neuroscience is only now starting to understand. Your subconscious is not available all the time. There are specific moments of the day when it is completely open, and the rest of the time, it works like a vault. You can repeat affirmations for hours, but if that door's closed, the words just bounce off, and absolutely nothing happens. Basically, talking to your subconscious when it's closed is like trying to convince a wall to pay your bills. But if you manage to get in when it's open, a single phrase can reconfigure your entire life. Do this right now, without overanalyzing it. Place your right hand in the center of your chest, right over your heart. Feel the heartbeat. Now close your eyes. Feel it. Breathe deeply and slowly 3 times. Feel the air coming in. Feel the air going out. All right, now open your eyes. Look straight ahead like someone who has just made an irreversible decision. And repeat this out loud 3 times in a row, without shame, without sarcasm, without pretending to try. Really do it. I attract wealth naturally. Money flows to me. I already live in abundance. Now tell me something. Did you feel that little movement in your solar plexus? That warmth? That almost electric tingling? Bob Proctor used to say that this feeling was the sign that the paradigm was starting to shift, as if your internal system had just received a new command. And even though it sounds crazy, millions of people described exactly the same feeling. Now I want you to do something else. Write this exact phrase in the comments. I attract abundance. Money is already flowing to me. It's already done. Yes, write it. Because the simple physical act of typing a statement changes something in your mind. It's like stopping to just think about an idea and starting to sign it. Like an invisible contract that your brain can no longer ignore. And this is where the story gets even more impactful. Because Bob Proctor wasn't born rich, he wasn't born brilliant, he wasn't born connected. He was born at the bottom. Literally, what you're about to discover changed the way I understand money forever. And it will probably change yours too if you stay until the end. Because Bob's story isn't the typical motivational story that's exaggerated to sell empty promises. It's documented, recorded in interviews, official biographies, and historical archives. It's the story of a man who hit rock bottom. And there he found the secret that separates people who just survive from those who end up mastering their reality. Bob Proctor was born on July 5, 1934, in Toronto, Canada, during the Great Depression. One of the most devastating economic periods of the 20th century. His family could barely stay afloat. His mother tried to teach him values and hope, while outside the world seemed to be collapsing economically. But when Bob reached adolescence, he suffered an injury that forced him to drop out of high school. He never graduated, no diploma, no education, no connections, no plan, nothing. At 24 years old, he was working as a firefighter in Toronto. That was his limit. That was as far as his life would go. And on top of that, he owed $6,000. To show how serious it was, he earned less in a year than he owed. Mathematically, he was trapped. Every morning he woke up with that unbearable pressure in his chest. And every night he fell asleep convinced that he was going to die poor, just like his father, just like his grandfather, just like all the men before him. Until, in 1961, something happened that he always described as the moment that split his life in two. A family friend, Ray Stanford, who would later become his mentor, gave him an old, small, worn-out book. Nothing special on the outside. But that book contained an idea that would end up changing millions of lives. The title was Think and Grow Rich, written by Napoleon Hill in 1937. After studying the richest and most powerful men in the United States for more than 25 years, Ray Stanford looked him straight in the eyes with an intensity that Bob could never forget. And he said just one sentence to him, "Read this book. It'll change your life." Honestly, Bob didn't believe him. Years later, he talked about it in interviews, conferences, and official recordings of the Proctor Gallagher Institute. He thought it was just another one of those motivational books that people recommend to feel profound for 5 minutes, and then forget it the next day. But out of respect for Ray, he opened it that very night. And something completely unexpected happened. He couldn't stop reading. Page after page, he kept going until he finished it completely by dawn. And this is important. It was the first book that Bob Proctor had ever read in his entire life, the first one. And when he closed the last page, something inside him collapsed. Not as a nice metaphor for personal growth. No, he described the feeling as something physical, really violent, in an interview with Sluice House on the podcast, The School of Greatness. Bob explained that he felt as if an invisible wall had been blocking his mind for 26 years. And suddenly, it had collapsed all at once. And behind that wall, he saw something he had never understood before. The real reason why some people change their lives, and others spend decades trapped in the same place. But here comes the part that almost no one mentions. What rarely appears in viral clips or social media recap videos. Because Ray Stanford didn't just give him a book, he taught him a specific technique, a mere 60-second exercise that Bob would repeat every day, and it would end up becoming the foundation of his entire transformation. Bob called it the golden mirror exercise, and this is exactly what he did. Every morning, as soon as he woke up, before touching his phone, before going to the bathroom, even before drinking water, he would stand in front of a mirror. But pay attention to this detail. He didn't look at his whole face. He looked directly into his eyes, into his pupils. This point that many ancient traditions describe as the closest gateway to the soul. And for exactly 60 seconds without getting distracted, without letting the rational mind start with its classic, "this isn't gonna work," Bob repeated a single affirmation, the same one, every day. A phrase that Ray Stanford gave him as if it were a master key, and that Bob kept engraved in his mind until the last day of his life. I am so happy and grateful now, because money comes to me in increasing amounts, through multiple sources, on a continuous basis. That was it. 60 seconds, one phrase, one decision. And now comes the part that can blow your mind. Why did Bob Proctor say that this technique only works the first time you do it correctly? Why did Bob Proctor warn in private seminars that if you did it superficially, you could completely ruin its effect? The answer lies in how your mind works. Bob taught that there are two main levels, the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. The conscious mind is the logical part, the one that analyzes, doubts, calculates, and thinks it has control. But according to him, that part only manages about 5% of your daily life. The other 95% happens automatically, and that's where the subconscious comes in. The place where what Bob called the paradigm lives. The paradigm is basically the invisible program that controls your life without you realizing it. Your beliefs about money, about love, about what you deserve, about what you believe is possible. And most of that programming was installed before you were 7 years old, when your brain absorbed information without filters, like an emotionally vulnerable human sponge. If you grew up hearing that money was hard to get, your paradigm recreates that difficulty. If there was constant fear at home about not making it to the end of the month, your mind normalizes scarcity. And here is the most important detail of all. The paradigm doesn't change just by repeating phrases, like a spiritual parrot for months. It changes when such an emotionally powerful moment occurs that your old identity breaks apart. That's why the mirror exercise works differently the first time. Because when you really hold your gaze without looking away, without pretending, without laughing, and you affirm a new identity with absolute presence, your nervous system registers that moment as a point of no return, as if you had internally signed a new version of yourself. And according to Bob, in that exact second, the reprogramming begins. Now listen to this. What happened next in Bob Proctor's life seems exaggerated until you find out that it's documented in interviews, official records, and decades of public appearances on major shows like CNN, Larry King Live, and other international media. Because after applying this philosophy, Bob made a decision that seemed absurd for someone with no education or money. He founded a commercial cleaning company called Janitorial Development. And he literally started from scratch. One man, one bucket, one broom, and a completely reprogrammed mind. That was all he had. But in less than a year, that company generated more than 100,000 US dollars. And just so you understand how crazy that was, in 1961, earning that amount was roughly equivalent to making over $1 million today. A Canadian firefighter who was drowning in debt managed to generate, in just 12 months, an amount of money that most people will never see, not even working their whole life. But there's an even more shocking story, one that Bob Proctor shared, almost breaking down emotionally during a private conference recorded in 2018. Because after months of practicing this method, Ray Stanford decided to put it to the test. He told him, "All right, if you really understood the principle, manifest $25,000. And at that time, we're talking about a huge amount, more than $250,000 today adjusted to current value. Bob accepted the challenge. He applied the mirror exercise. He repeated the affirmation. He held the mental image. He maintained the emotional feeling, and he ended up generating exactly that amount. The complete case is documented in official files of the Proctor Gallagher Institute within the story titled Trust, the Power Within. Now pay attention, because what I'm going to show you next is the exact method, step by step, no embellishments. The same structure that Bob taught in private, 3-day seminars, where people paid thousands of dollars just to sit and listen to him in cities like Toronto, Los Angeles, or Tokyo. And yes, what you're about to hear was literally premium information for millionaires desperate to reprogram their lives. Step 1, choose the right moment. Don't do this at just any time. Bob insisted that there are 2 specific time windows where the subconscious is much more receptive. The first one, the first few seconds after waking up, when you're still half asleep and half awake. The second one, right before going to sleep, when the mind starts to enter the alpha state. Choose only one, not both. The one that feels more natural to you, because this isn't about forcing it, it's about getting into it. Step 2, the mirror and the posture. Stand in front of a mirror where you can see yourself from the waist up. Lighting matters. Don't use harsh hospital lighting or the depressing darkness of a French existential film. Ideally, use warm light, soft, calm, relax your shoulders, keep your back straight. Let your arms hang loose. Your body needs to convey a very specific feeling. I am already that person. Because according to Bob, the subconscious listens much more to posture than to words. Step 3, the gaze, and this is where most people fail. Don't look at your face, look directly into your own eyes, especially the left eye. Bob taught that the right hemisphere, related to imagination and creativity, It responds more deeply to that sustained eye contact. Now listen to this carefully. If you feel uncomfortable, don't look away. That's exactly what needs to happen. That strange tension, that urge to escape, to look to the side, or to feel ridiculous. That's the old paradigm defending its territory. Your old identity trying to survive. Breathe, stay there, hold the gaze. Because that uncomfortable moment is the door. Step 4, the declaration. While you maintain eye contact, slowly repeat the full affirmation 6 times in a row. The one that Ray Stanford taught Bob Proctor in 1961. I am so happy and grateful now because money comes to me in increasing amounts through multiple sources continually, exactly 6 times, not 5, not 7. Bob associated the number 6 with material harmony and financial balance within the philosophy of New Thought. And even though some people made fun of that, interestingly, they were the same ones who were still in the same financial situation 10 years later. Step 5, the feeling. This is the true core of the exercise. When you finish the 6 repetitions, slowly close your eyes. Let your arms drop. And for the last 20 seconds, stop thinking, just feel. Feel it in your chest, in your stomach, in your whole body, the physical emotion of already having everything you need. Don't imagine money as an abstract concept. Feel the calm, the security, the expansion. Because Bob kept repeating something constantly. The subconscious doesn't respond to words. It responds to emotions. And according to him, that's where the difference lies in people. Those who repeat affirmations for years without results, and those who actually transform their reality. What you are or think stays on the surface. What you feel deeply starts to program you. And finally, step 6, the silent closing. Open your eyes slowly, and for the next 10 minutes, don't talk to anyone, don't check messages, don't play music, don't open social media, nothing. Stay in complete silence. Bob said that those 10 minutes are the period when the new command finishes imprinting itself in your subconscious, before external noise invades you again, as if the mind needed a few minutes of emptiness to seal the new identity before returning to the daily chaos. Now comes the story that will probably hit you the hardest emotionally in this whole video, because it was one of the last stories Bob Proctor told before he ate him.
Emocionalmente de todo este video, porque fue una de las últimas historias que Bob Proctor contó antes de morir.
And it perfectly sums up why this technique doesn't work when you just try it out. It only works when it truly becomes part of your identity. The main character's name is Sandy Gallagher, and before meeting Bob, Sandy was already exactly what society calls a person C.
Exactamente lo que la sociedad llama una persona exitosa.
Banking lawyer, huge income. She worked handling multi-million-dollar mergers for large corporations. From the outside, she seemed to have it all: money, prestige, status. But on the inside, she felt an emptiness that no paycheck could fill. That kind of silent emptiness that many people hide behind a busy schedule and a perfectly rehearsed professional smile. But in 2006, she attended a seminar by Bob Proctor, simply out of curiosity, nothing more. And during that event, she did the mirror exercise for the first time, but this time with something that almost no one truly brings: absolute presence, no cynicism, no half-heartedness. Without doing it, just to see what happens. And what happened next completely changed the course of her life. In the following months, she quit her career as a lawyer. She closed her law firm and ended up co-founding, together with Bob, the Proctor Gallagher Institute. Today, she is the president and CEO of the Institute. She travels around the world speaking at international conferences and living the life that, in her own words, she never imagined possible. And here is the deepest part of this whole story. Sandy didn't need more money. She already had money. What she was missing was alignment, direction, purpose, meaning. That's what the exercise awakened in her. Because when a person manages to align their inner identity with a clear purpose, money stops being something they desperately chase. It starts to appear as a consequence, like a shadow follows the body. I need to tell you something uncomfortable. something that Bob repeated a lot in private, although it almost never appeared in public social media clips. Most people fail with this technique, not because it doesn't work, but because they destroy it themselves. 95% of people do the exercise, and then they spend the rest of the day doubting. They expect immediate results. They get obsessed. They check if something has already happened, and when they don't see quick changes, they start thinking maybe this doesn't work, and right there they ruin the process. Because according to Bob, the subconscious doesn't distinguish between desire and doubt. It only records what you emotionally repeat with the most intensity. And if after the exercise you fill your mind with anxiety, fear, or desperation, that becomes the new command. That's why many people say, "I tried and it didn't work," when in reality they never held on to enough certainty to let the seed grow. Bob explained this with a metaphor that his students never forgot. Imagine you plant an apple seed. You water it, you take care of it, it gets sunlight. But every day, for 3 hours, you dig up the seed to check if it has grown yet. What will happen? You kill it, little by little. You kill it. According to Bob, that's what most people do with their manifestations. They plant the intention, and then they destroy it with anxiety. The mirror exercise is the first watering, but faith between the planting and the harvest is what determines if you'll ever reap any fruits. Now listen to this, because here comes one of the most curious details that Bob shared only at VIP events. A small habit that, according to him, it would brutally accelerate the reprogramming of the subconscious. During the next 48 hours after the exercise, every time you saw any symbol related to money, you had to do something specific. A coin, a bill, an ATM, a transfer, even a financial ad, whatever it was. You had to mentally pause for a few seconds and silently repeat, "Thank you, that's me, yes." That's simple. And even if it sounds strange, Bob said that this gesture breaks a very deep psychological pattern, the habit of perceiving money as something distant, scarce, or belonging to others. Because when you constantly associate it with yourself, the subconscious no longer views it as external. It starts to register it as part of your identity. And according to Bob Proctor, when something becomes part of your identity, your reality ends up reorganizing itself around that. Now stay with me, because what comes next is almost never shared publicly. And Bob only taught it inside one of his most exclusive private programs, Magic in Your Mind, a program where people paid more than $2,000 to access this kind of teaching. And now comes the additional code, the practice that, according to Bob Proctor, intensified the effect of the mirror exercise during the first 7 days, which are exactly the most important ones. He called it the 3-pocket blessing. And even though it may seem like something small, Bob said that this detail helped to set the new mental programming much faster. It works like this. After doing the mirror exercise for the first time, you are going to write by hand, with blue ink, never black, the full affirmation on 3 different pieces of paper. The exact phrase, "I am so happy and grateful now because money comes to me in increasing amounts through multiple sources continuously." Now pay attention to where each paper goes. You put the first one in your left pocket, the second one inside your wallet, and the third one under your pillow for 7 days in a row without missing a single one. According to Bob, each location has a different psychological and energetic function. The left pocket symbolizes the connection with imagination and the creative hemisphere. The wallet turns the affirmation into something amazing, physically associated with real money. And the paper under the pillow works during sleep, when the subconscious is more receptive and less protected by conscious logic. Bob used to say that those 3 points create a kind of mental reinforcement triangle during the first critical 72 hours after the exercise. And now I want to tell you something important. There's probably a part of you that's still doubting, that inner voice that whispers, "This sounds too simple." That exact voice was the same one that Bob Proctor heard for years, while he remained trapped in a life he didn't want. The same voice that kept a brilliant man living in debt, sleeping in a small room, convinced that he would never get ahead. Because sometimes the problem isn't a lack of ability, it's too much programming. Bob Proctor passed away on February 3, 2022, at the age of 87 in Toronto, the same city where he was born. But between 1961 and the day of his death, he dedicated more than 6 decades to teaching these ideas around the world. He appeared in The Secret, one of the most watched personal growth movies in history. He wrote books that became bestsellers. He helped build an institute that still trains entrepreneurs and leaders, and people obsessed with transforming their lives. But perhaps the most powerful part of his entire legacy fits into a single phrase. A phrase he would constantly repeat at the end of his conferences. Most people don't get what they want because they don't even really know what they want. And now you know. You already have the exercise, the affirmation, the complete method. The only question that remains is whether tomorrow, when you're standing in front of the mirror, you'll have the courage to hold your own gaze and decide once and for all who you want to be. Because if this video reached you today, if something stirred inside your chest while you were listening to this story, if you feel this wasn't a coincidence, then I want you to do something right now. Write this full statement in the comments. I am the magnet. Money has already found me. It is done. I receive it with gratitude. Yes, write it. Because according to Bob, the public declaration acts as the first emotional seal on the new identity you just laid out, like the first real watering of the seed. And listen to this. What you just learned wasn't free content years ago. Thousands of people paid fortunes, big amounts, to access these teachings in private seminars. In the next video, I'll show you the second advanced technique that Bob Proctor used when he wanted to go from making $100,000 to building multi-million-dollar wealth. A technique that almost never appears in public interviews or popular books. So stay tuned. And remember these words that Bob used to repeat like a mantra. You don't get what you want. You get what you are. Change your paradigm, and you'll end up changing your whole life. Because money behaves like a tiger. If you chase it desperately, it runs away. But when you become someone capable of holding it, it starts to follow you. I am the magnet. Money has already found me. It's done. And maybe the most important thing of all, you don't have to wait to become that person someday. Maybe you just needed 60 seconds in front of the mirror to remember that you could already be that person starting now.